Sue Creed, good morning.
Hi, lovely to be here with you.
Great seeing you. Good morning, everyone in Forest Hill Real Estate. Good morning, everyone in our group, Homeland, Ontario Realtors for Realtors. And I'm excited about today's conversation because I have a personal interest in what you have to say, and I'll explain why. For whoever doesn't know, Sue is our main partner. She's our partner in Collingwood, in the Wasaga area. I'm not sure, how do you call this area? The general area.
You call it the Southern Georgian Bay region.
Okay, so, now I know how you call it. So Sue was a successful agent in our office in Forest Hill downtown. And one day I got a phone call from Leonard, I believe, our partner, and said, you know, Meir, Sue is moving her entire family up north to Collingwood. And the truth is, I never told you that, but the truth is, you always seem to be like a downtownish family, cool downtownish family, because you lived in the city, you grew up in the city, and you have this cool husband and kids. And you look very urban to me, and that's what Forest Hill downtown is about. And you're moving to Collingwood. I was a little bit surprised. And now, fast forward a few years later. I don't know if you realize, but you're probably one of the successful Forest Hill brokerages. You're a top producing office right now. And not only that you're a top producing office, but your team is not huge.
Yeah.
And that's why I want to talk to you, because this entire area picked up my interest, and we called, and I think you chose to call this conversation, Live, Work, Play. Then for sure I need to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
This whole package sounds great. So maybe we should start with the basic question. Now that I gave you this introduction, gave everyone this introduction, what made you a few years ago, this is before COVID, before anything changed in the market, you're a successful couple, what made you decide to move to Collingwood? What happened?
It was very much a lifestyle decision. And it was one that I would suggest in most relationships. There is sometimes a bit of a push and pull, and one person has a great idea and then tries to bring the other person on board. It was not my idea to originally come here. I grew up in South Africa. I don't know from snow. I don't know from skiing. This wasn't a place that I was familiar with. But my husband had grown up here. He had grown up as a skier, as a racer, and on the Ontario ski team. And when we started raising our three daughters, they were on the ski hill. And we took to that environment very quickly. But what that created for us was this constant, we were always on the road. We were up here at a house that we had here Thursday through Monday, in Toronto a couple days. So when you knew me, we were living the opportunity of take advantage of Toronto downtown, but my heart was every weekend being left behind here because this is where we really chose to be. And I think that it does seem like we were ahead of the curve, but definitely through the pandemic, our number one growing market here are buyers who are actually leaving the city, who are doing
We're going to talk about it, but I'm just curious. I hope you don't mind me asking personal questions and being
No, not at all. Not at all.
This is how many years ago did you move?
So this was 3.5 years ago. And
wow, it feels like much longer. It feels way longer.
For the first, not quite year, but for the first little while, I was still working in Toronto, working at downtown, and managing my clients and our own investments and things that we had in Toronto. And I hadn't really become very involved in the Collingwood real estate market. And I was enjoying the move and the lifestyle change and everything that kind of came with that. One of the things that's so incredible about this area is winter, summer, spring, fall, it doesn't matter. Ski hills, hiking hills, the lake, it's a total 4 seasons, very active community, very outdoor community. And we kind of just as a family jumped in, wholeheartedly with that and really enjoyed that.
And there is a community, you and your as a couple and the kids got to know people, and you're part of, like, there is a scene, there's life as well?
Well, yeah, it's a little bit of like big fish in a small pond, where and that's what I love about this, is you really do get to be a part of a community, and you really do get to have an impact on the people around you. And to me, it's always been important: civil service, giving back, volunteering, participating, and things like that. And when you're in this community where you're dealing with, tens of thousands of people, no, millions of people, every single thing you do makes a huge difference. Tomorrow we're doing a walk to support one of the homeless shelters here, and Collingwood, which is tiny compared to everything else, is the third largest fundraiser in all of Canada.
The third largest, sorry, can you?
Third largest fundraiser for this charity that we're doing called Out of the Cold. So I have a flyer. So the brokerage is a sponsor, and I have a team, and we've raised almost $100,000 in a community of thousands of people, because everybody participates, and some people give hundreds, some people give tens. It's just it's kind of like small town with all the benefits of big town living. That's amazing. And you're only an hour and a half away from Toronto, so you're not too far as well. Yeah, exactly. Which is convenient. Although, not just because of COVID, since I've moved here, I thought I would go back to Toronto every week, maybe every other week. Yeah. Maybe if I went once a month. That was a lot. My friends that we left behind and family, they come up here. They'd much rather come here and spend time with us. And there's nothing that I miss. Some good restaurants. Not that Collingwood doesn't have great restaurants, but there's a bigger variety. I miss some entertainment from Toronto, but for the rest, we have what we need right here. Sounds amazing. And more affordable for housing, right? So yeah, it definitely is. I would suggest that we have seen a dramatic increase, probably close to a 20% price increase over the past couple years, and definitely through the pandemic, our prices are through the roof. I do feel that will equalize a little bit over time. But as a result of being just that far out of Toronto, it becomes much more affordable. And what you can buy for the same dollar that you spend in Toronto, you spend, let's call it $1 million here will buy you acreage and a 4,000 or 5,000 square foot home, and every amenity that you're looking for, rather than a 2-bedroom house that's attached in the city. Interesting. I wonder if anyone ever done a study on what percentage in value is Collingwood cheaper than Toronto, for example. It'd be interesting to check. If you compare apples to apples. Maybe we should do that. I think it could be a great marketing campaign if we find out that it's, for example, 40% cheaper. We should do it as part of a marketing campaign. Yeah. So I have so many questions now for you. When you moved to Collingwood, when you moved back then, I can't remember, but I'm not sure if right from the beginning you were planning to open a brokerage. Am I right? No, right? I wasn't. You were not sure. I wasn't. So what happened? Two things happened. One, I knew I wanted to continue with real estate, and I knew that as much as I loved Forest Hill, I didn't want to only work in Toronto. I needed to work in the current, in Southern Georgian Bay. So I visited a bunch of the brokerages that were here to see if I could find a good fit. And to be honest, I didn't, and for a number of reasons. And then I had a conversation with Leonard, and our partner. For whoever doesn't know, Leonard is our partner in Toronto. And when you meant the fit, it doesn't mean the other brokerages in Collingwood are not great, but you just found that you're different than them. I wanted something a little bit different. Correct. Okay. It's not that they're not okay. They're okay, but you're different. You're absolutely right. So thank you for confirming that. So I had one quick conversation with Leonard that probably lasted about 10 minutes. And I said, Len, I'm moving here and I think I'm going to have to leave the brokerage. And he said, oh, no, don't do that. Just open an office in Collingwood. And I said, yeah, that actually sounds like a good idea. And we were off to the races. Honestly, that conversation lasted maybe 5 or 10 minutes.
It's amazing.
I think in part, I have a really strong business background. I have an MBA. Before in real estate, I was running a 100-store dry cleaning franchise across Southern Ontario. And I'm not saying this to boost my ego. I had a really solid business background. So the idea of starting an office or a brokerage, to me, it kind of made sense, and I already had all of the skills that I needed to do. And the other thing is, I didn't know then what I know now. So I went in very innocent and very eager. And so I didn't know all the things that I should worry about and all of the things that were going to be challenges. And then when those things did come up, as they do when you run a business, sure, I was then able to handle them one at a time rather than being too intimidated to even start. And I will also add that having the partners that I did, like yourself and Leonard and Vicky Tull, who's our other partner in Toronto, was very, very helpful because I wasn't alone and we were working together. And that's been the direction of my office here and my relationship with Forest Hill from the beginning. People helping each other, working together, and really, although we're independent, because this can be a lonely career, I have surrounded myself with people that are really teammates. And that's been both personally as well as professionally very successful for us.
So I thank you for saying that. You touched me with the way you spoke. You're right. And there's something about our relationship and our offices and the team. It's all about the team at the end of the day. Yeah. Which leads me to the next question. Forever doesn't know, and I'm proud of it. We purchased a building, a unique building in Collingwood, downtown Collingwood, for our office. And to me, it represents of who we are a little bit. It's the building itself, the character of the building, and right? It's like it feels like home. Totally. And I look sometimes at the numbers that we do there, and it was almost an immediate success because usually it takes a year or two to break even in a brokerage. And I think from year one we did well, and now you're a top producing office. Our goal in those conversations is to enrich and provide tools to agents. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I need to ask you, and perhaps I know their response. What made your office so unique? Why do you think you succeeded? Is it you're different in the environment there? Is it your team? Is it a combination of something? Like, how did you do it? What happened? What made your office so unique?
So there are a few things. I think one is that we chose to, I maybe called it a bit of a boutique agency, but my objective was to have really great agents at the very beginning. I wasn't concerned about how many agents we had, so I wasn't on a big recruiting campaign to find just anybody. And so the agents that we started with, and therefore the agents that we were able to recruit going forward, were really big producers in their own right, but also had the same ideas that I did about how they wanted to operate, that we meet every week and we help each other out, and we try not to be too competitive with one another, rather think of each other as, I don't want to sound ridiculous, but a family, but we really care for one another, and that culture has continued. And I think it has attracted other agents that have similar mindsets. I also think that a big impact was the brand, was Forest Hill, and the way I was able to market the benefit of the Forest Hill brand, that we are a connection to the GTA, which was important for my market because most of our buyers and sellers come from Toronto. Not all, but it's a very big portion of who is active in this market. So being able to talk to sellers about bringing buyers from the GTA and vice versa, that was a very big selling point for us. And then I think the last thing was a level of professionalism, and that I keep everybody to very high standards. Obviously the basics of integrity and honesty and all of those kinds of things, but we do a lot of conversation and training about how to service our clients best, and constant, continuing education and making sure that we really are the experts in our field. And I think that that's being, felt by the people that we service.
How many agents do you have right now?
We have 13 agents.
Okay, wow, okay.
Yeah, which is great.
Which are producers, 13 producing agents.
13 producing agents. And one of the parts that I personally love is mentoring. And there are a couple newer agents that we have that have joined. And there's actually nothing better for me than working with new agents who don't have their own book of business yet, and helping them get their their experience. And that's what I was able to get from the Forest Hill downtown team. When I first started, nobody knows what to do. And if you just sit at a desk waiting for something to happen to you, it's never going to happen. But I had mentors like yourself and Len and Vicky, and I like to be that person for other people now that I have my own experience to help them get off.
And your agents are part of the community, right? I mean, they're involved. They live there. They know everyone. Between all of you, you probably know all of the community.
It's very important in this community that people live locally, and people like only to deal with people that are local. It becomes a bit of a, weird thing. I still have a 416 cell phone number. And so sometimes people say to me, "Ooh, do you not live here?" And I'm like, "No, but my buyers are coming from Toronto and I'm keeping in touch." I spin it. Maybe I should change. I don't know. So,
you spoke about your relationships with Forest Hill and other agents. I know that Forest Hill, the different offices, our office as well, referred you clients. Is that something you would like to get more, increase the level of cooperation between agents in your office? Not only Forest Hill, any agents that watch you? Because I know there's a big demand now in your area. Is it something that you work towards?
Yeah, absolutely. And I probably, I love this opportunity to talk to you about it and to the audience listening, because sometimes we get a little busy with what we're doing and don't reach out to others quite as much. But we work very well cooperatively. One of the things that a referring agent can be assured of when they help us, that their clients will be handled professionally, and we will maintain the relationship that they have with their client. We communicate back and forth. We offer very competitive referral rates, and depending on situations, we even go higher, and we're very flexible with discussing referring agents what they want. And we also refer back, because we have a ton of people here that are looking for property in Toronto too. And so we like the opportunity to be able to reciprocate a referral if it comes here. And I'll add one more thing, which is there are a lot of unique things about this market. Properties that are on the water, properties that have well or septic systems. Every agent knows their neighborhood. You know which is the right street, which is not such a good street, which has a poor neighbor. We know those things about this community. And so when agents come from Toronto to sell here or to buy here, sometimes their clients would do better if they had a local person to really be able to give them advice about what was going on. And it's only an hour and a half from Toronto, but to put your whole day aside as an agent to drive up here, spend your day doing showings, drive home and do that 2 or 3 times in a row, we can take that responsibility and kind of help them out in that way. So,
and you've been successful doing it.
Absolutely.
Let's expand on it, because I would like to drive maybe more business to you. What type, and maybe it'll help us understand the market. What type of clients, so if I'm a Toronto agent, for example, what type of clients are looking to buy in your area? I'm sure there are different types and different types of real estate that you can buy, right? Anything from a condo to a cottage. Maybe you can expand on that. What type of buyers are the typical ones?
So I would say that we've got maybe 3 big categories. We've got seasonal people that want to come here and enjoy the summer or the winter here. And they're looking for properties that are close to the ski hills or close to the beaches. And that could be anything from a condo, which is great because it's very turnkey and somebody else is doing the landscaping and the snow removal. But it's also very popular around here to have, we call them ski chalets, but they're now becoming, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 square foot, big, beautiful builds.
I hear about those.
Yeah. So it's everything from a log cabin to, these enormous properties. And so those are people that mainly are coming from Toronto, are very often members of the ski clubs that are here or ski at the Blue Mountains. And those buyers generally, I would suggest, are looking at anywhere from $500,000 for a condo, and then $1 million, $1.5 million plus if you're talking about chalets and being close to the hill. Then you have another huge community, which has become even bigger during the pandemic, which are people looking to leave the city. And kind of then there are some very specific areas that are very popular, and that is also because the schools in those areas are very popular or very high quality.
Are they welcomed by the community?
Yes. So it's challenging in times like now because we've had more people do that in the past year than ever before. And it's a stressful time, during the pandemic. So I would suggest that if I look at myself a year, 2, 3 years ago, before things changed, very much welcomed by the community. The community.
You were ahead of the market. You were ahead of the market, Sucre.
Trendsetter.
So there are 2 types that you already mentioned, are the ones that are coming for the weekend.
Yeah.
The ones that are looking to relocate. They're leaving the big city, the GTA.
Which are both young families as well as retirees. We have a very big retiree community here. And then the third category of people are investors. And so that has become a little bit more challenging in these days where the prices are, we were working on maybe a 5% cap rate. Our rental market is very, very strong. And so we have close to 0 vacancy rates. But
what do investors buy?
So they would be buying ideally, people are always looking for multi-residential, but there are so few of those available here. So more often than not, the most common would be condominiums.
Okay.
That they would then rent seasonally or annually because
I was under the impression there are not many condominiums in your area.
Not high-rise. There aren't very many high-rise.
Oh, gotcha.
One being built now, which is, I think, an 8-story, and it'll be the biggest.
How much money do you need to enter the market? Just to be, let's say I'm a young couple and I'm limited in my budget. I would like to move to have a weekend place, just a place to stay for the weekend.
I think you're looking at the minimum, if a 2-bedroom small kind of condo, you're looking at between $400,000 and $500,000.
Okay, so that's affordable in comparison to Toronto.
very affordable compared to Toronto. Not everyone here would agree because it used to be $250 to $350. And, you know, so it's definitely appreciated significantly. But for investors, knowing that they can have full tenancy and kind of have the pick of the market for potential tenants, it's very attractive if you can find the right buy.
Interesting. Now, what happened since I know the market was on the rise. I was watching it, and I have to be honest. I never really noticed your area as much. I mean, I came a few times to ski, and that was it. I didn't really care. But since you moved there, I started, and I understand why it's so popular. And you were ahead of the market for sure. What happened in the real estate market since the pandemic started? What has changed? And maybe you can also talk about the percentages money-wise as well, because we're all realtors.
Sure. The single biggest change was we would probably be at normally 55 or 60 days on market for a listing. And since July, when the market shut down completely, March, April, May of last year. But June, July, things opened up, and we now have, I think, a 12-day on market average. So it is dramatic here and it's a big deal around here that you list and within a week or so you've sold.
And you have multiple offers sometimes, which you didn't see before.
And that's another thing, which also, though, gives our brokerage a competitive advantage, because multiple offers and taking offer dates has now become more common here. And because we have experience from more competitive markets like Toronto, we know how to handle those.
Exactly.
Other agents sometimes are very intimidated, or, you know, it's a challenge. So multiple offers and days on market is very dramatic. January, it's been consistently the case, but January was a 15-year low for inventory. There had never been as little inventory as we had this past January.
What happened to the price in the past year?
So then the prices go up dramatically.
Do you have any idea by how much?
Yeah, so we're looking at about a 20% increase.
Wow. That's impressive.
It's significant.
I want to ask you a fun question.
Yeah.
But I know the answer, but I think still your area is unnoticed. I still believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I still believe there is so much more room for appreciation. Whoever buys now is going to find that it actually was a good investment. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do.
I still think it's on the rise. It's still cheap.
I still think it's got a lot of place to go. Yeah.
Right. You can still buy houses, and in 5 years they'll be much more expensive.
Absolutely.
You made a comment about live, work, play. Stuck in my head. You cannot say it about other areas. Why your area? You cannot say it about even cottage country sometimes.
No.
Why your area? What's different?
It's very unique. So there are a couple reasons. The life and the play part of it is that this is a very unique area to be able to enjoy the beauty of Southern Ontario's winter in the skis and the skating and the trails and snowshoeing, and enjoy that through the winter. And then in the summer have Georgian Bay and the lake and rivers, the Beaver River and Blue Mountain, which is a huge attraction, which has so many facilities. That's very different to a lot cottage country, which is good for the summer, or other areas, which is only good for one or the other choice. And the big difference too is because we are only an hour and a half from Toronto, commuting and actually living here, but still needing to go into the city for a couple days for work, has allowed people to be able to move out of the city without sacrificing their earning potential. And we've seen that even more so during the pandemic, when everybody's gone to remote work. And they realize now that even when the pandemic ends, which it will, and we will all be better, you know, once it does, but then it's like, oh, so I recognize now I can work 3 days a week from home and only drive into Toronto 1 or 2. That has changed the ball game for everybody. And also different to some other places in cottage country, although we're still a small town and a small community, there's absolutely nothing you can't do when you're here. Our food services, our restaurants, our supermarkets, the big box stores, you know, there's really nothing you have to leave town to do. And so, yeah, people.
I'm curious, how many cases do you have right now per day? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, so last week was not a great week, and we had 31 cases last week, which was very high. But up until now, it's been on average, most weeks nothing, and definitely single digits. And thankfully, there have been, unfortunately, 1, but not more fatalities. And but the ski hills have opened here. They opened this week, and so already things are busier now. You know, people are coming back, and so we'd have to be careful and continue to watch out.
Sure. So, did I tell you I love your accent?
Yeah,
I've told you that before. Thank you so much. You're amazing. For anyone who wants to cooperate and find their clients a great home, Sue Creed and her team. This is the place, and I met most of your team. I think all of them probably.
Yeah.
Most of them for sure. All of them are amazing individuals, and I appreciate you taking the time. And thank you for sharing. And you have to know, all of you need to know that it was a fairly spontaneous conversation. I mean, we spoke just for a few minutes before, and we just went with it. You're a real expert in the area, true professional. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and I invite all agents, members of our group, to invite more members and follow us on Homelands, on Facebook, Ontario Realtors for Realtors, and of course, our pages, so Forest Hill Collingwood and Forest Hill Downtown. Thank you so much, and I hope you have an amazing day.
Thank you for having me.